مؤتمرات أكاديمية ومهنية. أترك الفرصة لهاجر عشان تقدم لنا نبذة عنها باللغة الإنجليزية. تفضلي هاجر.
شكرا سمية. Good morning, everyone. I'll be introducing Dr. Lisa Barrow. We're actually really happy to have you here, and we're actually happy to have everyone here. I hope this would be a productive, definitely interesting, and a fruitful meeting. To start with, Dr. Lisa Barrow is the founder and owner of LMSB Consulting. She's an Ontario licensed investigator. She's a member of the Association of Workplace Investigators. She also relies on her 25 years of leadership and managerial experience, educational background, and research abilities to develop and deliver value-added service for nonprofit and for-profit organizations. Dr. Barrow has conducted research and written articles on leadership for professional and academic publications. Dr. Barrow also has written 2 books titled Hope for a Healthy Workplace and In Darkness Light Dawns, Exposing Workplace Bullying. I guess the titles are well interesting enough for everyone. She has been interviewed in several media outlets in Canada, South Korea, China, and in the US. Dr. Barrow has also taught leadership and management courses at the undergraduate, graduate, and PhD levels in the United States and in Canada. She has been the keynote speaker and presenter at academic and professional conferences. We're honored to have you here today, Dr. Lisa, and you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your event. I hope that the insights that I share with you regarding bullying will help you as individuals and your community. So Wynn, if you want to interpret.
اوكي يا الدكتورة ليزا بورو تشكر الجالية يعني والمكتب الطفل على إتاحة الفرصة للتكلم في الموضوع بتاع التنمر وإشكالياته يعني، وإنه كيف ممكن الناس تستفيد من يعني المعلومات اللي بتقدمها دي على المستوى الشخصي أو في مجالات العمل المختلفة، أو ممكن يعني الناس تستفيد منها بشكل أو بآخر من خلال المعلومات اللي هتحاول تقدمها الليلة.
Thank you. Samaya, if you could enable the share screen so I can share my screen, that would be great.
أحمد.
أحمد لو سمحت، هي عايزة السكرين بتاعها يكون shared.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lisa, I'm not the host. Ahmed will do that.
Okay, I have it now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what I'm going to do today is talk to you about bullying, and we're going to explore what bullying is regarding students and as also adults in the workplace. So when we can't hear you.
هي ذكرت على إنه هي حتحاول تستكشف المجالات بتاعت ما يسمى بالتنمر عندنا باللغة العربية، اللي هو البولينج يعني، سواء كان بالنسبة للطلبة المختلفين مختلفي الأعمار أو بالنسبة للتنمر في مجالات العمل.
So when we think about bullying, we often think about children and their experiences on the playground, their experiences as they are walking through the hallways to their classes. And what happens is sometimes we don't clearly understand that if that behavior is not addressed when children are young, when they grow up, they may carry those behaviors into their adult lives and into the workplace. So we will talk a little bit about the school bullying, and then I will show you how that can transfer over into adulthood.
طيب هي حتقول يعني احنا لما نتكلم على موضوع التنمر اللي بيجي في بالنا عادة المسألة بتاعت الشكل اللي ممكن يحصل بين الأطفال في البلاي جراوندز أو في الصالات بتاعت المدارس أو الباحات بتاعتها، لكن الصورة ما بتكون واضحة بالنسبة لنا لما نتكلم على الحاجة دي كسلوك عند الأطفال، واللي هو ممكن يحملوه معاهم لأعمار كبيرة ممكن تنعكس عليهم في حياتهم المختلفة.
So what is bullying? Bullying behavior is behavior that hurts another person. Behavior that hurts or harms another person. It is intentional.
بالنسبة لموضوع البولينج في نقطة أساسية هي بتقول إنه التنمر هو عبارة عن سلوك الشخص بيقوم به بشكل متعمد بحيث إنه هو يأذي الشخص الثاني أو الشخص اللي ممكن نسميه المتنمر عليه.
Often when bullying occurs, it is because one person feels as if he has power over another person, and therefore that person tries to devalue or make the targeted person feel less than others.
اللي بيحدث عادة إنه الشخص المتنمر اللي هو بيحاول يفرض الحاجات بتاعته بيفتكر إنه هو عنده القوة والسطوة إذا جاز التعبير، بحيث إنه هو يفرض إرادته على الشخص المتنمر عليه، وفي نفس الوقت إنه يقلل من القيمة بتاعته بطرق أو بأشكال مختلفة يعني.
Oftentimes, people think, especially when we are talking about children, believe that bullying behaviors, it's just a part of life, that children will get over it, and it's something that we are not to be concerned about. But in reality, bullying behaviors can have a significant impact on the lives of those who are being bullied.
نقطة جوهرية بتتكلم عليها الدكتورة على إنه يعني كما لو أن التنمر هو جزء طبيعي من الحياة والناس ممكن تتخطاه مع تقدم العمر ومع عامل الزمن، لكن الواضح تماما إنه البولينج ممكن يكون عنده تأثيرات عميقة جدا وممكن تستمر لسنوات طويلة جدا لقدام، سواء كان بالنسبة للشخص المتنمر أو الشخص المتنمر عليه.
So what are the typical bullying behaviors that children display? And I want you to think about the children in your lives, your children, your neighbor's children, any child in your life, and begin to ask yourself if you have seen any of these behaviors.
أنا عايزة يعني أتكلم في المظاهر بتاعت السلوك بتاع الأطفال اللي بيتعرضوا لمسألة التنمر دي، وتفكر مثلا في الأطفال اللي حولها، أطفال قرايبها اللي ممكن يكونوا مروا بتجارب زي دي يعني.
The first type of bullying behavior that children often rely on is verbal bullying. That can be in the form of teasing, name calling, So what they're doing is using their words to harm another child.
الحاجة دي ممكن تتجسد في شكل يعني أذى لفظي بيقوم به الشخص المتنمر. ممكن تظهر في يعني استخدام الإساءات والشتائم، أو ممكن يكون في أشكال مختلفة بتاع التأثير بطرق مختلفة يعني.
The second category is social bullying, and it's isolating the person. So a bully may say to his friends, don't talk to this particular child, or they won't play with the child, or they won't have lunch with the child. And so what they are doing is isolating them or bullying them in a social manner.
يعني الشكل بتاع التنمر الاجتماعي من بين الأنواع المعروفة يعني بشكل واضح، اللي هي ممكن الشخص المتنمر يستخدم فيها التكتيك بتاع إنه يفرض على الآخرين إنه مثلا ما يلعبوا مع الشخص اللي هو قاصد إنه يؤذيه، بإنه يتنمر عليه، ما تاكل معاه، بحيث إنه يكون في نوع من محاولة عزل الشخص المتنمر عليه اجتماعيا يعني، وضرب طوق من العزل الاجتماعي حوله.
The third type of bullying that children often rely on is physical bullying. So a bully may hit another child, may shove a child onto the ground, but what happens is the bullying starts to escalate. So it starts off verbally, the students will verbalize or verbally bully each other. And then if that behavior is not corrected, then it will escalate to social bullying, and then physical bullying may occur, oftentimes does occur. And it's done in a way in which the adults around may not even know that a student or a child in their presence is being bullied, because bullies try to hide their behavior.
طيب النقطة مهمة جدا بتحاول تسلط عليها الضوء دكتورة ليزا بورو، اللي هو الشكل الثالث من أشكال التنمر، اللي هو التنمر الجسدي، واللي هو ده ممكن يعتمد على إنه يضرب الشخص المتنمر، يضرب الشخص المتنمر عليه أو يلزه بحيث إنه يقع، والأمور بعد ذاك ممكن تتطور وتتعقد بحيث إنه يبقى التنمر تنمر لفظي، وده بالتالي ممكن إذا الناس ما لحقت معالجة الحاجة دي بسرعة ممكن تتطور الأمور ويبقى اللي هو الشكل اللي اتطرقنا عليه في النوع بتاع التنمر نمرة 2 اللي هو التنمر الاجتماعي، أو ممكن يمشي للمرحلة بتاعت التنمر الجسدي. والحاجة دي ممكن زي ما بيقولوا تمشي تحت الرادار بتاعت الناس الكبار، بحيث إنه هم قد لا ينتبهوا للحاجة دي، لأنه الشخص المتنمر بيعتمد على التكتيك بتاع إنه هو الأسلوب التنمري إذا جاز التعبير اللي هو بيستخدمه، بيحاول إنه يدسه من الكبار. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe this next type of bullying, cyberbullying, can wreak even more havoc in the lives of a targeted person. It used to be where if a child was bullied at school, the child only experienced the bullying when she was at school. And so when she would go home, she would have her safe place. But it is no longer that way as a result of cyberbullying. So the bully may decide to use social media to devalue that targeted person. So now that young person has to deal with bullying at school. If the young person has a cell phone and is on Facebook or other social media, now they are subjected to even more bullying. And so it is as if they are never, ever able to accept or to run away from or to eliminate the bullying on some level in their lives on a day-to-day basis.
طبعا الحاجة اللي هسه بقت أخطر، دكتورة ليزا بورو بتحاول تسلط الضوء على ما يسمى بالسايبر بولينج أو التنمر الإسفيري أو التنمر اللي بقى يجي عن طريق الإنترنت يعني. فهي بتقول يعني الحاجة دي ممكن يكون عندها يعني هي قالت ما يسمى بالريك هافك، يعني ممكن يكون عندها تأثيرها الأكثر تدميرا إذا جاز التعبير على مستوى الأشياء اللي ممكن يخلقها، على اعتبار إنه الشخص المتنمر عليه يعني مثلا إذا تم التنمر عليه في المدرسة هو ممكن يمشي للبيت ويبقى الأمور هادية بالنسبة له على اعتبار إنه ماما في بيته، وفي نفس الوقت الشخص المتنمر هو ممكن يستخدم الوسائط الاجتماعية إذا عنده سيلفون، إذا بالإنترنت ممكن يرسل رسائل بتاعت التنمر بتاعته للشخص اللي هو متنمر عليه، بحيث إنه الأمور تبقى أكثر تعقيدا. يعني بدل ما كان التنمر بس في المدرسة، الشخص المتنمر بيبدأ يلاحق الشخص المتنمر عليه في يعني حرفيا ممكن يكون في اي مكان، لانه الشخص المتنمر ممكن يصل له عن طريق السيل فون، عن طريق الانترنت، وبالتالي الشخص اللي بيتعرض للتنمر بيبقى كما لو يعني انه بقى ما عنده مفر، يعني حتى يلجأ لها، لانه الشخص المتنمر ممكن يصل له بشكل مستمر وشكل يعني في اي لحظه وفي اي مكان.
Thank you. So if we look at these behaviors, and initially we may say, well, those behaviors that you talked about aren't too harmful. Every child goes through or experiences these behaviors. But I want you to understand that with bullying, it's repetitive behavior. So I'm sure that we have all been teased or were teased as a child for one reason or another. But imagine if you are teased every day. Imagine if you are isolated every day. And I think about when I played sports, and I was really good at sports, but I had classmates who were not good at sports. And so when it came time to choose teams, there were always some classmates who were not chosen or were chosen last. And so imagine if that happens on a regular basis, what it does to that person. It starts to cause them to have self-doubt. Others may begin to look at them differently. And if that behavior is not addressed, it can escalate and create significant harm for that young person.
دكتورة هنا يعني بتحاول تتكلم على مسألة الأبعاد بالنسبة للسلوك ده. يعني في كثير من المفاهيم المغلوطة عند الناس إنه يعني ما السلوكيات دي ما سلوكيات مؤذية، الناس كل الأطفال، وفي ناس بتفتكر كده يعني كلنا مرينا بالتجارب دي وده شيء عادي، وما يعني ما الناس مفروض تعمل زي ما بيقولوا قومة وقاعدة حول الموضوع ده يعني. لكن إذا ركزنا على الحاجة دي بنجد إنه مسألة التنمر هي إذا نظرنا لها على اعتبار إنها هي بتحصل بشكل متكرر، يمكن كلنا مرينا بتجربة لما كنا في المدارس في شخص ما بيحاول إنه يغيظنا لسبب أو لآخر. لكن يعني يتخيلوا أو شخص بيحاول يعزلنا أو ما داري يلعب معانا أو ما إلى ذلك. لكن تخيلوا لما الحاجة دي تتكرر بشكل مستمر وبشكل دوري، يعني التأثير النفسي اللي بيحصل على الشخص اللي بيكون متنمر عليه قطع شك بيكون كبير. يعني هي خطتها في الإطار بتاع إنه ضربت مثل، تخيل إنه لما بيتم اختيار فريق في المدرسة في ناس لأسباب أو لأخرى يعني ما بيتم اختيارهم من البداية، يمكن ما عندهم قدرات رياضية كبيرة، لكن تخيل لما أنت كل مرة بيتم يا أخي كده عليك الله انتظر شوية، معلش أنت كده كيف، دائما بيختاروك أنت الآخر أو في الأخير. فبالتالي ده بيبدأ بيشككك في نفسك، في قناعاتك، في قدراتك، في إمكانياتك، بالتالي بيقلل من قيمتك. فالناس يجب أن تنظر للتنمر برضو من خلال الميكروسكوب ده إذا جاز التعبير يعني.
So when children are experiencing bullying, they often feel sad, they feel hurt, they feel alone. They feel as if they can't share their experiences with others because they are afraid that the bullying may escalate or that they may be seen as weak. And so what happens is, and this is why if you are parents, you need to begin to monitor the behavior of your children. And so if you see that your child starts to become withdrawn, or you see that their attitude changes, you have to ask questions about, what are they experiencing on a day-to-day basis. If you notice that the child is having more nightmares or headaches or stomach problems, or the child doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to be around certain people, if you see that they have lost their confidence, so maybe they were really good students and now they have poor grades, or they lose interest in things that they really had a lot of fun doing. All of these behaviors are reflective of something that's bigger, something that's going on, and they may not be able to share with you or articulate what is going on. And as parents, grandparents, we need to be able to ask those questions to find out what is happening with the child.
طيب دكتورة برضو هنا بتتكلم على جزئية مهمة جدا. يعني الأطفال اللي بيمروا بالتجربة بتاعت التنمر ويعني المتنمر عليهم بيمروا بحتت نفسية ممكن تكون صعبة جدا، اللي هي الإحساس بالحزن، الإحساس بالأذى، الخوف، والرغبة في أنهم يكونوا لوحدهم لفترة أطول بشكل فجائي وغير يعني ما تعودوا الأبهات أو الأمهات من أطفالهم. فهي بتلفت النظر للآباء في الحتة دي بشكل مهم جدا، على أساس أنه الأبهات والأمهات يجب أنه يعني يكونوا مفتحين عيونهم بشكل كويس إذا حصلت تغيرات فجائية في السلوكيات بتاعت أطفالهم، يعني مثلا بيقوا مثلا ما عايزين يمشوا للمدرسة، بيقوا فاقدين الثقة في نفسهم، عايزين ينعزلوا، عندهم صداع بيشكوا منه، أو في كوابيس بقت تحصل لهم ما كان مثلا ملحوظة قبل ده. الأشياء دي كلها هي عبارة عن رسائل ممكن يرسلها الطفل وهو ما عايز يشارك بها معاك، لأنه زي ما ذكرت في الأول هو ما بيقدر يتكلم على الحاجة دي، لأنه الطفل لما يبدأ يحكي عن الحاجة دي في وسط أقرانه، لو حكى لأمه وأبوه بيفتكروا إنه هو ضعيف أو إنه هو خايف أو إنه هو يعني أي حاجة، هو الطفل لسه صغير ويمشي بيحكيها لأمه وأبوه. ففي بعض السلوكيات بتصل على الأطفال بشكل فجائي، الدكتورة بتلفت النظر على إنه لازم الناس تنتبه لها كثير يعني.
I'm going to show you this video on school bullying. It's a short one, but it helps to show you what a child can experience or how to address bullying.
هتورينا الفيديو ده وكيف الناس ممكن تتعامل مع التنمر في المدارس.
Instead of playing sports like the other boys, he prefers acting and writing poetry. Some of the boys laugh at him, telling him he's skinny and calling him a sissy.
ما في excuse me, do you see the video, guys?
Can you see the video?
No.
No, you cannot see it? Okay.
Yeah. I think you need to do a new share.
Okay, let me just try it again here. You should be able to see it. Do you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. All right,
Now
can you
it's
see
good.
it?
That's good.
Amir's teacher tells him it's an
Now it's okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Around the world, 1 out of every 3 students is bullied by their peers. In many regions, physical bullying is the most common type of bullying, with 16% of bullied children saying they have been hit, kicked, shoved around, or locked in rooms. Far away, in Europe, 13-year-old Rani is experiencing bullying. She recently moved there from Asia with her family. It feels as if her world has been turned upside down. School in a language she doesn't understand, and she hasn't made any friends. Things can't get any worse until someone posts a hurtful text about her on social media, telling her to go back to her own country. The cyberbullying gets worse. Ethnicity, nationality, or color is the second most common reason for bullying. The most common reason is physical appearance. 16-year-old Kaya in Southern Africa is bullied for the way she looks every day. Her parents are poor and can't afford to buy her shoes or a new uniform. Every day she walks kilometers to get to school. It's not easy, but her dream of being a doctor helps her to stay motivated. Lately, some of the boys from her school have been making life difficult. They wait for her along the path, crowding around her and making rude comments about the way she looks. When she tells them to leave her alone, they just laugh. Over 15% of bullied students say they were made fun of because of how their face or body looks. Many students, especially girls, experience violence based on their gender in and around school. As bullying continues, many victims don't know who to turn to and become isolated and depressed. They find it difficult to concentrate during lessons and start missing classes or drop out of school altogether. 42% feel like an outsider at school. 63% feel anxious for tests, even if they are well prepared and score lower than their peers. 45% of them give up on their dreams to pursue formal education after school. Countries cannot achieve inclusive and equitable quality education for all if learners are being bullied at school. There is a way to change this. We can stop bullying by adopting a whole education approach where teachers, principals, administrative staff, students, and parents all play a role in promoting a safe and supportive school environment.
All right, so I like that clip because it shows you what children experience, and especially children of immigrants, children who are visible minorities often experience a higher rate of bullying than other children. And especially, coming to a country like Canada, where the majority of the people in Canada do not look like your child, my child would look. And so that's an added issue that children have to deal with when they are coming into a new environment. And this sets them up to become a target, because some individuals in some societies are not willing to embrace diversity, are not willing to embrace the visible minorities, individuals who have different religious backgrounds, beliefs, and this can set a child up for becoming a target of bullying.
طيب في نقطة مهمة جدا الدكتورة برضو يعني بتواصل انها تتحفنا بالمعلومات بتاعتها كباحثة في المجال. هي بتقول انا بحب الفيديو ده لانه بيعكس التجارب اللي ممكن يمروا بها الناس في المدارس من مسألة البولينج اللي ممكن تكون مرتبطة بشكل الطفل بمظهره وما إلى ذلك، وبتشير إلى أنه الناس من الأقليات المختلفة أو من الناس من الأقليات هم أكثر عرضة من ناس البلد الأصليين المستوطنين من بدري إنهم يتعرضوا للمسألة بتاعت التنمر دي. يعني لأنه لما الشخص يجي بأولاده لبلد جديدة بتبقى في إشكالية، خصوصا إذا أطفالك ما بيشبهوا معظم الناس اللي بيكونوا مثلا موجودين في المدرسة اللي هو جايب لها أطفاله، بتبدأ تحصل بعض الإفرازات وبعض الإشكالات السلبية على اعتبار إنه أطفالي أنا بكون جايبهم لبيئة أو عالم جديد، وفي العالم الجديد ده مثلا زي كندا هنا مثلا يعني بيكون في الإشكالية بتاعت بعض الناس اللي هي ما بتقدر تهضم أو تبلع مسألة إنه المجتمع يكون فيه نوع من التنوع ونوع من الاختلاف. الحاجات دي بتكون متأصلة عندهم لأنه مبنية على قناعاتهم والأشياء المترسبة عندهم بأنه الشخص المختلف ده نحن ما بنقبله ولازم يعني نتهكم عليه ولازم نضحك عليه شوية وكده. ومن هنا بتبدأ إشكاليات التنمر ومشاكل الكثيرة اللي هي اتطرقت لها لغاية هسه.
So what happens to those children who experience bullying or bullied others when they become adults? So what happens to that behavior if a child is a bully and that child grows up and their behavior is never addressed? What happens to that child? What happens to the targeted person when they grow up?
طيب هي برضو هنا بتتكلم على مسألة بتسلط الضوء على مسألة التجربة اللي بيمروا بها الناس، ودي برضو جزئية مهمة في تصوري. الناس يعني الناس اللي لما يواصلوا في عملية التنمر ويكبروا في العمر وما تمت معالجة سلوكهم ده بشكل صحيح، أو الناس اللي تعرضوا للتنمر برضو ما تعرضوا يعني ما تمت مساعدتهم وعلاجهم وواصلوا هم كبار. شنو اللي ممكن يحصل للطرفين لطرفي المعادلة إذا جاز التعبير؟
They may become adult bullies. The reason why they may become adult bullies is because their behavior was never addressed as young people. And so in their minds, that behavior is acceptable. If their parents never said anything to them about changing their behavior, if their teachers never said anything to them about changing their behaviors, then individuals may grow up to be a bully. If you think about the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, throughout his life, there are indications that he bullied while he was a child. And we saw for 4 years how he bullied adults. He bullied anyone who did not agree with him. And I remember how I felt when he was elected. I could not believe that the American people would elect a bully. And my heart went out to all of the children and all of the people who were being bullied, because I knew that for 4 years there would be an increase in the number of incidences of bullying, because that behavior was accepted. And for 4 years, we saw that it was accepted.
طيب، الدكتورة برضو بتتكلم على المسألة بتاعت الإشكالية الكبيرة في المسألة بتاعت إذا إحنا ما قدرنا نعالج السلوك التنمري عند الأطفال، الحاجة دي ممكن تكبر معاهم ويعتبروا هذا شيء طبيعي، لأنه هو لم يتم تصحيح سلوك هذا الشخص المتنمر، سواء كان من قبل والده أو والدته، لما تشوف أنه بيتصرف بالطريقة اللي فيها نوع من التنمر ده أو المدرسة ما عالجت مشكلة الطفل ده برضو، فبالتالي الحاجة دي بتكبر معاه وبيبقى شيء طبيعي يعني. و يعني بتجيف شوية عند الظاهرة بتاعت دونالد ترامب، وبتقول إنه فيما يبدو إنه في بعض الإشارات الواضحة لأنه هذا الشخص كان متنمر طول حياته، وشفنا كيف إنه كان متنمر طوال فترة الحكم بتاعته اللي استمرت 4 سنين، والناس شافت بوضوح إنه هو كان بيتنمر على أي شخص بيجي في طريقه. وأنا بصراحة صدمت وكنت مذهولة لما تم اختيار للرئيس ترامب لقيادته لرئاسة أمريكا، وأنا عارفة إنه هو شخص متنمر، فيعني حسيت بكثير من يعني التعاطف مع الناس اللي تم التنمر عليهم، والحاجة دي الناس شافتها بوضوح تام في شخص ترامب خلال ال4 سنين اللي هو كان فيها رئيس الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
Thank you. And so with Donald Trump, we saw what type of harm bullying behavior can have on individuals. And for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about adult bullying because it is a topic that I would say in recent years has been put on the forefront of the minds of those of us who are seeking to create healthier relationships. The behavior that adults display, bullying behavior, is very similar to that of the behavior that children display. The only difference is with adult bullies, they won't punch you in the nose or steal your lunch money because they can go to jail. But they have other ways of stealing, taking away from the target person.
يا اخوانا معلش بس في ايكو في الخلفيه، فدي شويه بتربك السبيكر وبتربك الشخص اللي بيترجم يعني، فانا ما اعرف من ولا في صوت جاي معلش. طيب، هي بتواصل الحديث بتاع دكتورة ليزا وبتتكلم على مسألة إنه شفنا زي ما قالت بوضوح التأثير بتاع التنمر بتاع ترامب والأشياء اللي ممكن يحدثها على مستويات مختلفة يعني. وهي عايزة تسلط الضوء في الجزء الثاني في الحوار بتاعها على مسألة كيفية الناس تبني علاقات صحيحة في ظل أشياء ممكن تحدث من خلال التنمر، الأشياء اللي بيستخدموها للناس المتنمرين، يعني إنهم يستولوا على الأشياء من الناس المتنمر عليهم. في بعض السلوكيات الصحية الناس لازم برضو تشير لها وتسلط عليها الضوء.
They could become bullied employees. And you know, what is interesting is I have dealt with many bullied employees, and many of them have said they were bullied as children. And then they grow up and they're in the workplace and they're being bullied again. So you could see that the cycle was repeated. So they could become bullied employees.
بتقول إنه أنا يعني من خلال تجاربي من المدهش جدا يعني تعاملت مع أشخاص متنمرين وقالوا إنه هم يعني كانوا متنمرين في المرحلة بتاعت الطفولة، وهو بيجوا لما يكبروا يخشوا في المجال بتاع العمل برضو بتستمر الدائرة وبيبقوا هم يعني بيتنمروا على الموظفين اللي شغالين معاهم. يعني الدائرة بتستمر، يعني الدائرة ممكن نسميها دائرة مؤسفة أو دائرة شريرة يعني.
They could become innocent or not so innocent bystanders.
طبعا هي بتتكلم برضو على الناس المتنمر عليهم بالأحرى، يعني هم ممكن يكونوا إما ناس غير بريئين أو ممكن يكونوا يعني متفرجين على المسرحيات بتاعت، إذا جاز التعبير، بتاعت التنمر اللي ممكن تحصل قدامهم، فهم بيلعبوا الدور بتاع البايستاندرز يعني.
Oftentimes with bystanders, they are reluctant to get involved because they are afraid that the bully will begin to bully them. And so what happens is they will privately support the targeted person, but publicly distance themselves from that person.
من الملفت للنظر إنه الفراجة زي ما بيقولوا عندنا بالسودان إذا جاز التعبير في الشغل بتاع التنمر وإشكالياته، هم ما بيتدخلوا، لأنه ممكن هم يكونوا بيتخوفوا من الشخص اللي ممكن يتنمر أو الشخص المتنمر، فبيخافوا إنه ممكن يجي الوقت ويتنمر عليهم برضو. فهو يعني ممكن بشكل سري يتعاطفوا مع الشخص المتنمر عليه، لكن قدام الناس هم بيحاولوا إنه ما يتدخلوا.
Many newcomers, visible minorities and women are the targets of workplace bullying, and they are twice as likely to be bullied as any other group. So the likelihood that you as a member of one of these groups will experience bullying is high. 37% of adults are bullied at work.
طيب
37.
يمكن الجزئية دي شوية بتعنينا نحن هو ناس يعتبر جايين من دول تانية، وإذا ربطناها بالكلام اللي قالته في الأول إنه يعني المهاجرين الجدد مثلا لدولة زي كندا، الأقليات وبشكل خاص النساء هم أكثر عرضة من غيرهم من المجموعات الإثنية المختلفة لأنهم يكونوا عرضة للشغل بتاع إنهم يتنمر عليهم، يمكن بضعفين المجموعات الإثنية الثانية يعني، أو المجموعات العرقية الثانية يعني. بعدين يعني هي خطت بناء على يعني إحصائية إنه يعني إذا بتعرفوا إنه في حوالي 37% من الكبار تصوروا إنهم بيتعرضوا للتنمر حتى في البيئة بتاعت العمل بتاعهم يعني.
So what exactly is workplace bullying? It is behavior that is negative, repetitive, malicious, and health harming.
طيب يعني إذا جاز التعبير برضو نخش في العظم بتاع الأشياء. إذا ركزنا على مشاكل التنمر بتاعت الكبار، السلوك التنمري ده إذا جاز التعبير هو سلوك زي ما هي صنفته هنا، بيقول إنه سلوك سلبي، سلوك يعني سلوك متكرر، ويعتبر سلوك خبيث وكيدي برضو تتحمل الكلمة يعني، إضافة إلى أنه هو عنده تأثير الضار على الصحة.
Workplace bullying is psychological harassment. So instead of focusing on, let's say, a person's race, what happens with workplace bullying is because it's so repetitive, it starts to wear the person down. So similar to what happens to a child. Every day, the child is bullied. They begin to break down psychologically, and that's what the bully wants. The bully wants the person to see himself as weaker, or they want the targeted person to not have the confidence that they once had. And so it's psychological harassment day in and day out for an extended period of time. What happens is the person ends up breaking. They can't take it anymore. They can't take it any longer.
الحتة دي برضو مهمة جدا. في النهاية دكتورة ليزا بتصل لأنه التنمر في أجواء العمل يعني أو في مكان الشغل في النهاية هو بيعتبر شكل من أشكال التحرش النفسي أو التحرش السيكولوجي، لأنه يعني إذا في شخص مثلا شكله مختلف من الآخرين مثلا وبيتم التنمر عليه بشكل متكرر، فده بيتعبه جدا نفسيا، وممكن يوصل لمرحلة الانهيار النفسي وعدم الثقة في النفس. وده الشيء اللي بيعتمد عليه الشخص المتنمر في إنه يحاول يصل إذا جاز التعبير بالفريسة بتاعته دي ليوصلها لإنها تكون ما عندها أي نوع من الثقة في نفسها، يعني تقلل من الاحترام لذاتها ويضعفها بشكل كبير.
So it affects the employee's mental health. It can contribute to accidents and injuries and errors in the workplace. So if you are working with a person and they start to have some mental health issues, or there are accidents, you know, someone is injured because they aren't focusing 100% on their job because they're worried about being bullied. I've spoken to employees who are so fearful of being bullied that when they go into work, they are physically ill. They are stressed. They can't focus on their jobs. So it negatively affects their mental health.
يعني زي ما شايفين الموضوع بدأ يشعب في البيئة بتاعت العمل. هي ما مسألة بتاعت التنمر بس، بقدر ما إنها هي عندها تأثيرات الكبيرة جدا على الصحة النفسية، وممكن بشكل أو بآخر تلعب دور كبير جدا في حدوث الحوادث المختلفة، الإصابات، أخطاء العمل. وزي ما قالت هي احتكت ببعض الناس اللي بيتعرضوا للتنمر، ويعني بيكون جزء كبير جدا من تفكيرهم بدل ما انهم يكونوا مركزين على العمل بتاعهم اللي هم بيأدوه ويعني يجودوا فيه كده، بيكون تفكيرهم جدا في مسألة التنمر اللي هم بيمروا به، وبالتالي ده بيجي بينعكس على ظهور الحوادث والإصابات والأخطاء في العمل يعني.
So there are different types of bullying situations in the workplace. So it could be the boss to the employee, employee to employee, employee to the boss, customers to employees, employees to customers. So any of these scenarios may occur in the workplace.
طبعا الحاجة الملفتة للنظر إنه يعني إذا أنواع الحالات بتاعت التنمر ممكن تمشي من البوس أو المدير في العمل يكون بيتنمر على الموظف، موظف يتنمر على موظف، موظف يتنمر على البوس، أو العملاء يتنمروا على موظفين في مؤسسة معينة، أو الموظفين ذاتهم يتنمروا على العملاء أو الزبائن بتاعهم.
The bully is often someone who is insecure. They may be intimidated by the bullied employee. They may not like the employee because of how they look or how they speak, or anything could cause a bully to target another person.
الشخص المتنمر ممكن يعني يتنمر لأي أسباب مختلفة، ممكن يتنمر على الموظف الثاني اللي معاه لأنه ما بيعجبه الطريقة اللي بيتكلم بها كأكسنت مثلا، أو ما بيعجبه شكله، أو ما تعجبه يعني أشياء في الشخص اللي هو بيحاول يتنمر عليه. يعني ممكن تكون في أسباب كثيرة جدا تؤدي للشكل أو السلوك التنمري ده يعني.
Female bullies or women tend to bully other women more than they do men. So 68% of women are bullied by other women.
غريبة جدا يعني إنه في السلايد ده هي بتتكلم على التنمر الأنثوي إذا جاز التعبير، يعني يعني يمكن 68% من النساء المتنمرات هم بيتنمروا على يعني نساء تانيات معاهم، قد يكون في العمل أو في أي حتة تانية يعني.
The targeted or the bullied person, it used to be said that the bullied person was weak and was not able to fend for him or herself. That's not the case. Many of the bullied employees that I've spoken to are well-liked individuals. They're very intelligent, educated individuals. And what happens is that their boss becomes intimidated by them, and they are then the target of bullying, because what the boss is trying to do is to make that person feel less and be seen as less than the boss is or other people on the team.
من الحياة العجيبة جدا اللي بتتكلم عليها دكتورة ليزا بارو هنا، الموضوع بتاع يعني الناس بتتصور انه الشخص المتنمر عليه او الشخص المستهدف من عملية التنمر انه هو في النهاية يعني زي ما تقول شخص ضعيف، شخص ما بيقدر يحمي نفسه. لكن الحكاية عادة ما كده، يعني لأنه الشخص المتنمر عليه هو ممكن يكون شخص محبوب جدا في الوسط بتاع العمل بتاعه، شخص ذكي جدا، لكن بيظهر في الصورة لاعب تاني اللي هو ممكن يكون المدير، لأنه ما عايز الحاجة دي تكون موجودة. الموظف ده محبوب، الموظف ده ذكي، الناس بتتكلم عليه وبيشد به، لا هو بيحاول انه يؤثر عليه بشكل او باخر، يتنمر عليه بشكل او باخر، بحيث انه يقلل من قيمته، يشكك في ثقته في نفسه، في قدراته وما الى ذلك. يعني ممكن تجي في جو عجيب جدا، الامور فيها شكلها طبيعي، لكن بيخش البوس بشكل سلبي ويأثر على الموضوع ده ويفاقمه بشكل او باخر.
And then the bystanders, once again, just as with children, some people don't want to become involved because they are afraid that they may become the target of bullying. Also, with bystanders, the bully will try to convince them to start bullying the targeted person, and that is known as mobbing. Mobbing is where the bully subtly influences others to start treating the targeted person in a negative way.
برضو دي معلومة جديدة صور لدى الكثيرين مننا، اللي هي مسألة المشاهدين للتنمر أو الفراجة. زي ما قلنا قبل انه هم ممكن يكونوا يا اخي انا مالي ومال الشغلانيه دي، انا ما دار اتورط، انا ما دار اخش في الحاجه دي. وبيقوم بيتكلم على بيتكلم هنا الدكتور على مساله انه الناس الشخص المتنمر بيقوم يستخدم التكتيك بتاع انه يحاول يعني يقنع الفراجه ديل او المشاهدين للحوادث بتاعت التنمر دي بحيث انه يعني يقنعهم بانه هم برضه يحاولوا يتنمروا على الفريسه بتاعتهم او الشخص المتنمر عليه. واذا جاز التعبير او الترجمه كانت صحيحه، هو بيتكلم على اللي هو توظيف ما يسمى بالرعاع، يعني انت تجند مجموعه مع الناس معاك بحيث انه هم يحاولوا يستهدفوا الفريسه بتاعتهم او الشخص او الانسان اللي ممكن يتم التنمر عليها.
So what are the characteristics of workplace bullying? The first category is direct aggression. And in that category is what we call the threat to professional status. And so what the bully is trying to do is to lessen the targeted person's status amongst their peers or within the organization. So they may question the targeted person's abilities. If a person is working on a project, they may not necessarily appreciate all that the targeted person has to share. And once again, what they're trying to do is to make that person feel less than others that are on the team. So direct aggression is the first category.
طيب هنا بقى هي الدكتورة تتكلم على مسألة الاعتداء المباشر من خلال التنمر، اللي هو تهديد الشخص المتنمر عليه من ناحية وضعه الوظيفي. فالشخص المتنمر بيعتمد على التكتيك بتاع تقليل القدرات بتاع الشخص المتنمر عليه، تسفيه أو تقليل قيمة مشاركاته وإسهاماته. مثلا إذا بيشارك في العمل، بيقدم بروجكتات وما إلى ذلك، الشخص المتنمر بيعتمد على إنه يعني يحاول إنه يقزم إذا جاز التعبير، ويقلل من القيمة بتاعت أي مجهود وظيفي يقوم به الشخص المتنمر عليه. يعني محاولة الاستهداف مباشرة في الجو في العمل بأنه يا أخي أنت ما عندك قيمة، مجهودك تعبان دائما، غير مقدر.
Under the category of direct aggression, there is threat to personal standing. Now, threat to personal standing is the same as teasing, name calling. And so if a boss causes a person a derogatory name, or I've seen situations where a colleague puts a sign on the back of an employee and the employee is walking around the workplace with the sign on his or her back and they don't even know it's there. There are different ways that the bully tries to threaten the person's personal standing.
من ضمن الحاجات اللي عندها علاقة بما يسمى يعني الاستعداء أو الاعتداء المباشر، اللي هي مسألة التهديد بتاع السمعة الشخصية بتاعت الشخص المتنمر عليه. عشان أكسر الجو شوية بتاع هنا بذكركم لما كنا صغار، قالت ممكن المتنمر يستخدم أسلوب بتاع إنه يلصق حاجة في ظهر مكتوبة في ظهر الشخص المتنمر عليه، والشخص بيكون شايل الحاجة دي ولافي بيها وهو ما جايب خبر، ويكون في شكل بتاع إهانة زي ما كنا صغار وكنا بنلصق الورقة اللي بنكتبها للأولاد اللي معانا في المدرسة، ونكتب حاجة زي حمار للبيع، يعني إذا تكرموا، يعني زي ما كنا بنعمله إحنا. شوفها حاجة زي دي، يعني تخيلوا بيستخدموها حتى الموظفين. أوكي.
And just to let you know, it's okay to share your opinion with other individuals. It's the way that your opinion is shared and how you engage with that individual. Many bosses have asked me if they are bullying employees when they tell employees to do their job and they want the job to be done correctly. That is not bullying. It is how the boss conveys that message to that employee that could lead to a charge of bullying. So yes, the work needs to be done, but if you are calling the person names, if you are devaluing that person in any way, then that is an example of workplace bullying or bullying in general.
طيب هنا دي بقى بتقودنا لموضوع ثاني متشعب جدا، اللي هو مسألة إنه يعني ما غلط إنك تحاول يعني تشارك برأيك مع زملائك، مع موظفينك، مع غيرهم، لكن الطريقة اللي أنت بتحاول إنك تشارك بها رايك مع الآخرين، سواء موظفين أو مع عمال أو مع يعني أشخاص مختلفين، هي دي ده مربط الفرس. يعني أنت ممكن تطالب الموظف بتاعك بحيث إنه يؤدي الوظيفة بتاعته أو يقوم بتنفيذ المطلوب منه، سواء كان شغل أو مشروع أو ما إلى ذلك، في وقت محدد. دي ما مشكلة. لكن إذا أنت استخدمت طريقة شوية التون بتاعها مختلف، فبالتالي دي ممكن تصنف أو تتخطى في الشكل بتاع التهمة بتاع التنمر على الموظفين أو على الزملاء بتاعينك. فالمشكلة الرئيسية في إنك أنت كيف تحاول توصل الحاجة اللي أنت دايرة بيكون ما يكون فيها أي أشكال بتاع التعدي على الآخرين بأي شكل.
So the question becomes, when you're looking at your own behavior, is my behavior disrespectful to this person? Am I devaluing this person in any way? And if the answer is yes, and if you're doing this on a regular basis, then that is a form of bullying. We can have healthy conversations. We can respectfully disagree with each other without putting each other down, without name calling or without teasing a person or without devaluing that person. And so that's very important to know, especially with the direct aggression. We need to be very careful, to share our thoughts, but always in a respectful way.
هي بتقول يعني نحن مفروض نكون منتبهين لسلوكنا فيما يتعلق بالآخرين، يعني وكيفية التعامل معهم. يعني نحن ممكن يعني نختلف، لكن يكون في شكل من أشكال الاحترام المتبادل. لكن إذا أنا كنت بتعمد أو يعني بستخدم أسلوب التقليل للآخرين، التهكم في والسخرية من حاجاتهم، والحاجة دي بتمشي بشكل متكرر، فبالتالي دي ممكن تصنف على أساس إنه ده شكل بتاع التنمر الواضح. يعني نحن ممكن نختلف زي ما بتأكد الدكتورة ليزا، لكن يجب أن يكون في حدود من الاحترام للناس لحاجاتها، بدون ما يكون في تقليل لقيمتها، لإسهاماتها، لشغلها وما إلى ذلك.
And another form of bullying that we see in the workplace is indirect aggression. So a boss may place unrealistic deadlines on a person, may give them too much work to do. Basically, what they're doing is setting this person up to fail, and or to not perform well, so that they have a reason to discipline the person or to terminate the person. Workplace bullying leads to either the person being terminated or the person quitting. And that's exactly what the bully wants. And so subtly, they will set up that person to fail. And indirect aggression is one way to do that.
في السلايد ده الدكتورة بتتكلم على مسألة ما يسمى بالاعتداء غير المباشر، وفي جو العمل ده بيكون ملاحظ بشكل كبير جدا من قبل البوس اللي بيحاول يعني يحاول يدي يعني مهام بتاعت إنجاز يعني مهام في العمل، بحيث انها تكون يعني تنفيذها بيكون بشكل ما واقعي، يعني يقحمك او يديك كم هائل من الشغل ويطالبك بانك تنفذه في زمن وجيز جدا، ويكون هو متعمد انه يحاول انك تفشل او يحاول انك ما تقدر تؤدي الشغل ده، لانه طلبه ذاته طلب ما واقعي، وده بيجي لانه هو في النهايه عايزك انك يتخلص منك او عايز انك تسيب الشغل. وده عادة اللي بيحصل في النهاية، يعني الشخص ما يقدر ينفذ الشغل بالشكل المطلوب، أو يأديه بشكل ناقص، أو يحاول يسيب الشغل ويمشي يعني. وده بالضبط يعني من التكتيكات المعروفة اللي بيستخدموها الناس اللي بيتنمروا على الآخرين.
And relational aggression. And so this could be denying a person a promotion, opportunities to receive a bonus, failure to acknowledge. So the person does a really good job on a project and the boss never acknowledges that person. And then social aggression, which is similar to what the children experience, where there's either social or physical isolation. So social isolation, employees decide that they're not going to talk to a certain person, or physical isolation where, and I know of individuals who this has happened to, where they have had their desk or their work area moved away from everyone else. And then others were basically told to leave that person alone or not talk to that individual.
في السلايد ده الدكتورة ليزا بورو بتركز على مسألة الاعتداء في العلاقات بين الناس، يعني يعني مثلا ممكن يتجسد في الشكل بتاع رفض إعطاء الفرص في مثلا في الترقية، أو الاعتراف يعني الفشل في الاعتراف بأي شيء يقوم به الشخص المتنمر عليه. في شكل ثاني من أشكال التنمر في المجال بتاع العمل، اللي هو ما يسمى بالتنمر الاجتماعي أو الاعتداء الاجتماعي، اللي هو بيكون في المجال بتاع يعني الموظف أو المدير أو غيره بيحاول يضرب طوق من العزلة حول الشخص المتنمر عليه، أو العزلة الجسدية بعدم التواصل مع الشخص المتنمر عليه. وزي ما شفنا الحاجة دي في الأطفال، ومن خلال تجاربها قالت يعني أنا شخصيا شفت حالات بتاعت إنه الموظف أو المتنمر عليه ممكن يجي يشيلوا المكتب اللي هو بيكون قاعد عليه ويودوه بعيد، بحيث إنه هو ما يحتك بالآخرين، والمدير أو البوس يحاول يطلب من الموظفين التانيين إنه الزول ده يكون بعيد وما تحتكوا به، وأشياء من هذا القبيل يعني.
So what do bullied employees experience? Children experience the same, anxiety or depression. So a few years ago, when I conducted research, 29% of the individuals who participated in my research said that they experience anxiety or depression, or both combined. Many of them said that they experience physical ailments, headaches, stomach aches, things of that nature, similar to what children experience, and suicidal ideations. When I first conducted my research, 8% of individuals indicated that they considered suicide. I did additional research a few years later, and that number increased to 10%. So what happens is the person feels anxious, they're depressed. Let's say they're a very, very good employee. They go into work every day and they give 100%, and what they do is never good enough. That creates some type of frustration, anxiety, depression. They start to have headaches, migraines, whatever. And if the situation is not addressed and they feel all alone, then they may consider suicide. And this is one reason why I share these presentations with groups like this one is because too many people are thinking about or have harmed themselves because of bullying, whether the children. And when we talk about children and bullying, because children don't have the knowledge, the abilities, because their brains are still growing, to try to figure out what they could do to help address the issue, they may say, well, there's nothing I can do, and end up harming themselves. With adults will go through many exercises before they get to that point where this becomes an option. And so I dedicate all of my presentations to the individuals who have been bullied, those who have unfortunately taken their lives because they didn't feel as if anyone was there to help them. And I encourage you to please, if you know someone who is being bullied, support that individual, guide them, have them talk to a suicide hotline, talk to their physician. There are so many resources available for individuals so that they can, work through. And one of the things that I say to the employees who contact me is that it is not your fault that you are being bullied. It's not your fault. And sometimes that helps them to begin to think about their experiences in a different manner. And I know I said a lot there, Wynn, so.
لا no worries. الدكتورة بتحاول طبعا تلخص يعني اللب الموضوع بتاعها، يمكن هو في السلايد ده اللي هي بتتكلم فيه على المسألة بتاعت انه بتقول هي عملت دراسات قبل، انا هحاول بسرعة الخص يعني، عملت دراسات قبل سنين يعني، ولقت انه 29% من الموظفين اللي بيتعرضوا للتنمر بيقولوا انهم مروا بالتجارب بتاعت يعني احاسيس القلق والاكتئاب او الاثنين مع بعض، القلق والاكتئاب في نفس الوقت. كثيرين تعرضوا او حسوا ب يعني اضطرابات او مشاكل صحيه زي الصداع وبالذات عند الاطفال. والاغرب من ده كله انه يعني بتقول يمكن حوالي لما عملت تجارب في بعض التفكير والابحاث لقت انه الناس كانت فكروا في الانتحار نتيجه للضغوط بتاعت التنمر اللي بيمروا في العمل، وصلت ل 8%، وقبل كم سنه للاسف النسبه دي زادت ل 10%. و طبعا يعني بتقول انه الموظفين اللي ممكن يكونوا موظفين ممتازين وجيدين جدا قدر ما يسعوا قدر ما يحاولوا، الا انه دائما الحاجات بتاعتهم ما بتكون مقيمه وما بتكون مقدره، وللاسف في من بيناتهم من انتحروا نتيجه لعدم وجود امل في انه المشاكل بتاعتهم دي تتحل. لفتت النظر لنقطه مهمه جدا دكتوره ليزا بارو للموضوع بتاع انه يعني في بعض يعني مشكله التنمر عند الاطفال ممكن المعاناه تكون اكبر، لانه الطفل لسه بيكون يعني مخه يا دوب بينمو او في حاله بتاعت نمو، فما بيعرف كيف يتصرف، ما بيعرف كيف يعالج الضغوط الرهيبه اللي هو بيعاني بها كطفل يعني. فبالتالي ممكن تؤدي لانهم يؤذوا نفسهم بشكل او باخر. الكبار يمكن تكون عندهم شويه خيارات ما يمكن يتعاملوا مع الحاجه دي، لكن للاسف حتى من بين الكبار في بعض منهم للاسف يعني انتحروا. فانا اللي عايز اقوله من خلال تجاربي ومن خلال شغلي في المجال ده انه الناس لازم تنتبه للموضوع ده، وانه في يعني كثير من الناس بتعاني الناس تنتبه للأطفال. المساعدات ممكن تكون موجودة في جهات مختلفة حكومية، جهات خاصة، من خلال الهوت لاينز ممكن تكون تقدمها الجهات المختلفة سواء كان حكومية أو جهات خاصة. دي حاجات مهمة الناس تنتبه لها. I think I tried to summarize as quickly as possible what I could.
Okay, all right. And thank you for that. And so the bottom line is that whether the bully person is a child or an adult, they need to know that they are important, and that, once again, it's not their fault, and that there are people there to support them. And so what to do to stop bullying: know what the behaviors are and address them as soon as possible, whether those behaviors are with children engaging in a certain way or in the workplace or adults, or reward positive behavior. Communication is important. Talk to individuals, talk to your child, talk to your neighbor's child. If you see that individuals are not acting as they were in the past, maybe they're not as happy as they used to be. If you have that open communication, they will eventually tell you what's going on. Get involved. Get involved with what's happening with the children, with your friends, your colleagues. Don't be a bystander. Don't look the other way. Look for warning signs. Person's not talking as much as he used to, not laughing as much. Their attitude changes. And provide that support. And that support can be listening, being there for that person, letting them know that you are there and that you are not judging them. You are there to help them to work through this situation. And finally, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. If you are not the target of bullying, but you see that someone is being bullied, don't be afraid to stand up for that person. Whether that we're talking about children on a playground, or we're talking about adults in the community, or adults in the workplace. We need to be able to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves.
طيب، هي نسيت جزئية مهمة قبل، قالت إنه الناس اللي بيتعرضوا للحاجة بتاعت التنمر ده يعني هي بتستخدم الأسلوب بتاع إنه توجه لهم رسائل إنه دي ما مشكلتكم، اللي حصل ده أنتوا يعني حصل لكم وما مفروض يقلل من قيمتكم، ولازم يعني تحاولوا يعني ده بيديهم دفعة قوية لأنهم ينظروا للأمور من نظرة تانية يعني. فالنقطة دي مهمة وأنا استحضرتها هسه. طيب، الكلام الأخير هو كلام يعني أكثر من رائع. إن شاء الله نقدر أتذكر كل الكلام اللي هي قالته، لكن هي بتقول طيب نحن في المجمل بعد الكلام ده كله يعني إحنا كيف نحاول إنه نوقف أو نكسر الحلقة الشريرة بتاعت التنمر. اللي ده بإنه نحن نحاول يعني نرصد أي سلوك غير غريب بيحصل مثلا مع أطفالنا، مع أصحابنا اللي هم كانوا مثلا ناس حلوين وناس فريحين وبيحبوا يضحكوا وبيحبوا يتكلموا، وفجأة الظروف بتاعتهم أو سلوكهم بدأ يتغير. فبالتالي لابد إن إحنا ننتبه للحاجة دي ونحاول إنه نكافئ السلوك الإيجابي والسلوك الخير والسلوك الطيب، يعني يكافئ يعني، وما يهمل أو ما نطنش يعني. الآلية بتاعت التواصل أو الاتصال مع الآخرين هي آلية مهمة جدا في إيجاد حل أو للمساعدة في إيجاد حلول في لما تحصل مثل الحاجات تحت التنمر دي. مهم جدا جدا أمنت الدكتورة على الحتة بتاعت إنه يعني الناس تكون فاعلة أو تحاول تشترك بشكل كبير إذا شافت في حاجات زي دي، وما تحاول زي ما بنقول عندنا بالسوداني يا أخي أنا مالي ومال الموضوع ده وأقوم أطنش أودي الموضوع ده ظهري يعني. لا، إذا في مشكلة حاصلة زي دي حاول إنك تشارك فيها بحيث إنك تحاول إنك تكون جزء فاعل من الحل يعني. وقالت الأمور دي كلها مرتبطة بإنك تشوف العلامات تحت التحذير اللي ممكن تحصل زي ما قلت مع أصحابك، مع الأطفال حتى سواء كان في البلاي جراوند أو في جو الشغل العام. في إشارات أنت ممكن ترصدها من الشخص سلوكه كان جميل وحلو وطبيعي وفجأة بدأت تحصل عليه بعض التغيرات، فدي بتعتبر يعني إشارات تحذيرية للشخص اللي ممكن يكون حولك أو الشخص اللي بيهمك. من المهم جدا إنه الناس تحاول تقدم الدعم سواء كان بالنسبة لطفل صغير، طفلك أو طفل جارك أو صديقك أو قريبك أو ما إلى ذلك، إذا شفت عليه التغييرات الفجأة بدأت تحصل عليه مختلفة عما كان في السابق يعني. من المهم جدا الاستخدام بتاع الأسلوب بتاع إنه الناس لازم تتكلم. إذا في مشاكل كبيرة زي دي بتحصل في داخل المجتمعات بتاعتنا، الناس لازم تتكلم ولازم توضح رأيها وتكون إيجابية في إنها تحاول توجد حلول عملية، لأنه يعني المشكلة مشكلة ما بسيطة، المشكلة كبيرة وبتصل لأبعاد كثيرة جدا يعني. أنا ما دار استرسل كثير، لكن أتمنى إنه الناس من خلال الكلام اللي هي قالته من خلال بعض الترجمة اللي أنا عملتها تكون الأمور وضحت يعني.
So community is important. And so in the Sudanese community, in Canada, you need to support one another. And you need to protect one another, embrace each other. And one way to do that is to not accept bullying behavior, whether it's from a child or an adult that you know. If people, it's hard enough that we have to, and you have to deal with society. And society doesn't necessarily want people who look like any of us. And the last thing that we need to do is to bully one another. We should be supporting each other, respectfully disagreeing with each other. If you have children, raise them to value the differences in others, to respect them, hold each other accountable, and finally spread love and understanding, forgiveness, uphold the value of one another. And in doing so, this will help your children. It will help each of you as you move through life.
Sorry, Yasir, for interrupting. If you could just brief it in 2 minutes or so, that would be appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
أنا ولا الدكتورة يا
لا sorry, I'm talking to Yasir.
هي لأنه الزمن بدأ يضغط فعلا. طيب هي بتتكلم على أهم شيء في الجزء الأخير اللي هي عملية دور المجتمع في حلحلة المشاكل دي، إنه كيف نحن نحمي بعض، نرفض الفكرة بتاعت قبول السلوك التنمري، نربي أطفالنا على احترام الآخرين واحترام الاختلاف واحترام التنوع فيما بيناتنا. أي شخص يجب أن يكون معرض للمساءلة على سلوكه. طبعا هي تقصد نشر ثقافة التسامح والحب والتفاهم. شكرا.
Okay, so that's the presentation. If you have any questions, I am open to answering any questions. On the screen, you will see my contact information. My book, In Darkness, Light Dawns, Exposing Workplace Bullying, is available on Amazon. And I'm open to any questions. If you need to contact me after this presentation, feel free to do so. So that ends my presentation. And so Samaya, I will turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Lisa, for that formative presentation. And we are glad to have you here. And that's was very formative and useful. We have some questions here. The first one from Ashraf Ahmed. I will read it from my cell phone because it's not there is some misspelled in here in Zoom. So his question is, I mean, at our community, Sudanese community, we at Sudanese community internalize some cultural traits that make it difficult to identify and handle bullying. We are not very clear on bullying behavior. We often confuse courage in expressing opinion and bullying. Would you please shed some light on that point, where to consider some interchange bullying rather than courage?
All right, and thank you for that question. And so when we are talking about bullying, if you are, and we can tell if we are being aggressive towards another person, if we are being disrespectful to that person. And so you can be courageous and share your opinions and have your position. But if you are putting that other person down so that they walk away feeling less of a person, then that's what is wrong. And so you have to figure out a way to be respectful. My parents taught me to be respectful. I grew up in a family of 15. And so there had to be some element of respect. And so if we can agree with each other, that's great. If we can't agree, that's fine too. So we need to learn how to be more respectful of each other, even if we don't agree with that person or we may not necessarily like what they're doing. I don't know if that answered the question.
Ashraf, you can talk if you have if the point is not clear yet. I think that will do. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. The other question from Sami Sabir. His question is, what are some techniques to handle bullying at the physiological level? I mean, as a bullied person.
As a good question. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I often encourage bullied employees to do is to, first of all, contact their doctor, let their doctor know what they are experiencing. Mm-hmm. Also, it's important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because being bullied is a stressful experience. I was bullied. I know what that feels like. And that's why I wrote my second book, because I felt that if I had gone through this experience, and I have 5 degrees and success, very successful. If I was the target of bullying, then people with less than I have are being targeted. Maybe they don't understand, or people need to know that it doesn't matter your status. Anyone can be bullied. So when I was going through my experience, I made sure I exercised. I'm a woman of faith, so faith is very, very important. I made sure that I talked to my family and friends about the situation, and I tried to make sure that I was being good to myself. And I realized that I didn't do anything wrong. It was this person who was intimidated by me because of how I am. And so that person decided that, you know, I was going to be the target. So when I share these thoughts with you, I share these thoughts because I lived the life of being bullied. And at the time, I didn't even know what it was that I was going through. And that was another reason why I wrote the book, because a lot of people are being bullied and they have no clue. They feel as if this is, you know, what work is about and this is how they should be treated. And that is not the case.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Lisa. I have a question myself, but I would first leave the chance for the people. If anyone has a question, would like to share. I think I would go with my question. So from what I have read or listened to, it appears that all of bullies are either narcissists or psychopaths. Is there any possibility for a normal person to be a bully?
Yes, and oftentimes people think that a person who is a bully is a sociopath or a narcissistic, and that's not always the case. I mean, obviously, you look at someone like Donald Trump, clear classic, you know, narcissist. All right. However, many bully people, what I have learned over the years is that they have a high level of insecurity. And so whether they're in a position that maybe they're not supposed to be in, or maybe they're a child who have parents who have been telling them at home that they're no good or saying some negative things to them. So the child in turn, or that person in turn, says, well, I have to prove that I am good. I have to prove that I'm better. And so they may begin to bully because there's something going on within them. And so oftentimes what I encourage bullied employees to do is to step back and take a look at that person, see that bully as a person, and ask yourself, what is going on in that person's life? Why are they being bullied? Are they not being loved enough? Are they being abused at home if they're children or even adults? But you think about it, a person who loves him or herself, who feels good about him or herself, will not bully another person. They have no reason to. They're not threatened by those individuals. They accept those individuals. And so when you see a bully come along, you have to ask yourself, what is really going on? Why is that person striking out?
Thank you so much. So we have another question from Ala Al-Fatih. What is your advice to parents who need the motivation to support their kids who are facing bullying in many platforms like school, online, different social
First of all,
platform maybe?
Let your children know that you love them. You hug them, you hold them, and you tell them every day how much you love them and that they are a valuable person. Because it's important to protect their little minds so that they don't internalize what their friends are saying to them. Then, as parents, talk to the school, the principals. Let the principals know that this type of behavior will not be tolerated. And I believe, and I have seen where some individuals are fearful of doing that, but it's okay. You're talking about your child. You're standing up for your child. And when your child sees that you're willing to stand up for them and do whatever it takes to protect them, that's going to help them to get through the bullying. But it's tough, because I've talked to parents who have had children who were bullied, and they had to remove the children from the school and send them to another school in order to protect those children. But you have to hold teachers and you have to hold the principals accountable. They are responsible for creating a healthy learning environment for the students. And if they are not doing that, then something needs to happen with them. They need to change.
Thank you.
سمية أنا عايز أسأل.
Go ahead.
ممكن أسأل؟
اتفضل.
Well, Dr. Lisa Barrow, I would like to ask two questions. First of all, the first question is about, the technique that the parents need to handle, especially if they see the warning signs that you touch on one of your slides. It is very difficult to handle this issue with very young kids if you see that there's something wrong with their behavior. This is number one. And the second question is, I want to ask about the fine line in terms of criminality between the cyberbullying and the, if I can put it this way, the traditional bullying. So can you please throw some light into these two issues?
All right. So with the last issue, you were asking about criminality.
Yes.
All right. And so this is what is interesting, especially with Canadian law. And I'm not a lawyer, so I will say that up front. However, the laws pertaining to internet and cyber legislation are very, very weak, if they exist at all. And so this is why people are saying whatever they want online and are not being held accountable. Now, having said that, I know of at least one case where someone was bullied through cyberbullying online, Facebook, whatever. And that person sued another person and actually won for defamation of character and things of that nature. So if you have proof, and this is why it's so important, and I was going to say this earlier, make sure that you document everything. If your child is experiencing bullying online, you take screenshots, you collect as much information as possible, because if you have to, sue someone, at least you have documentation. This is what happened. This is what so-and-so said. And even if you're experiencing that in the workplace, I always say to employees, document everything. And so that when you present your case, you will be able to show that there is a history. And I have worked with individuals, especially employees, who have sued their organizations. And whether the organizations were, private or public organizations, and they won their cases because they had all of that documentation available to them. What was the...
Sorry, if you can speak up, because, if you speed up, because we are just have maybe 6 minutes.
All right.
And we have more questions.
Okay, sure. Okay, and then I see that what is the best strategy to let the kid talk when he was, you know what? As parents, you know your children. And if it's going outside to play basketball with your child and then you have a discussion, being open. And a lot of times the children will say, well, no, nothing's going on. Well, you have to, in your way, and you know your children, figure out a way to talk to them in a way that they feel comfortable sharing with you what is going on.
Sorry, you finished. Sorry, because
I'm trying to rush. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Nahid was talking the same question. I was like it was in my mind earlier. What should the parent do next if the student or kid already did the steps to the steps you mentioned, like after the parents go to school and talk to the principal and the teachers, everyone involved, and they did nothing.
Well, and see, this is especially in Canada. If you have exhausted all of your avenues, unfortunately, you may have to go to the point where you contact a lawyer.
Oh.
Yes.
Or it might be easier to move, maybe.
But
because it happens.
It happens. But I mean, if you really want to stay in that community, in that school or whatever, because what happens is the schools don't want to be sued, first of all. And so they will become a little more proactive in their efforts to address the issue, because they don't want it to become public that this situation is occurring. If you choose not to go the legal route, then you may have to move. Do what is necessary to protect your child is all that I'm saying. Whatever that looks like in your situation. And not every situation is the same, but there are some steps that you can take.
So this is also something that came to my mind. Like, do you think that like there is a limitation for teachers and principals to take actions against the bully?
There are limitations, however, they must, because they have agreed to protect all of the students. And so they can step in and talk to the parents of the student who's the bully and say, if your child continues to act in this way, your child may not be welcomed in the school. So don't be afraid to use the resources that are available to you, whether it's the school system or other avenues that you can take to protect your child. And there have been cases where the bully student has been removed from the school or removed from the class.
Yeah, but what if also it's a question like how to deal with the situation when the bully plays the victim. Sometimes
that happens all of the time. The bully will deny, or they will say, oh, no, this is where an investigation has to be done. The school has to investigate, or the workplace has to investigate to see what has happened. And you can ask for an investigation to get to the bottom of it, to find out what's going on, and then come up with solutions for addressing the issue so that the bullying stops. So there are different avenues, different tools that the school principal has that he or she can access, and the employer has that they can access as well. Don't just accept it's really not happening. Stand up, fight. People contact someone like me. I've called schools to raise the concern. I've called employers, and they don't like it when a third party contacts them to say, you have a problem what are you going to do about that problem? And I've had to do that on several occasions, and they definitely don't like that. So there are avenues that you can take.
So what are the resources for parents to like to help them? Because like we are like as immigrants, we don't like there is a lot of resources are there, but we don't know them.
All right.
Specifically in this regard.
Okay, what I can do for the sake of time, I can put together some links for you to regarding school bullying and other issues, and I can send them to you, Samaya, and then you can share with others.
Okay.
Because if you're not aware of the resources, how can you access them?
That's right. Yeah. Because it happened to, I mean, lots of us, but we couldn't deal with it like properly.
Yes, yes. And feel free to contact me. I'm familiar with the Canadian system. I'm familiar with the American system, you know, and this is what I do. And if there's anything that I can do to help anyone, I will do my research. I will do my best to help you.
Oh, yeah, that's, thank you so much.
Yes.
What's Nahid said, I mean, if the student already was brave and stood and spoke up and went to the principal and that's it, converted.
And okay, so the students already stood up and has already gone to the principal, and the behavior is continuing. The parents need to become more involved and talk to the principal, talk to the school board if necessary, talk to whomever you need to talk to protect your student, your child. Let them know that you are not going away. You are there, you are an engaged parent, and you want something done to protect your child.
Okay, there is so thank you so much. There is another question from Russia. Muhammad, she's saying that an employee was asked to resign for reasons that the employee was convinced by these reasons. Then manager terminated the employee and refused to give the annual evaluation and reference. Can we consider these actions as bullying by the employee? Termination without cause, employee was not convinced.
All right, so that's a classic situation. And so what I would suggest that the employee do is, if the employee has resigned or been terminated already, the employee needs to contact an employment lawyer, a human employment lawyer, as soon as possible. And the employment lawyer will help that employee know what he or she is entitled to. Because what happens is sometimes employers will let an employee go and then they will say, we'll give you 2 weeks severance pay, when the employee may have been entitled to a year salary. So once again, I've dealt with many situations like that. If the employee is in a union, then the employee has to talk to the union representative in order to help them. But I can, if someone's experiencing issues like that, once again, I can help you with that. But definitely what happened, because it's called, if the employee quits because of the bullying, it's called constructive dismissal. If they are terminated and the employee feels that he or she didn't do anything wrong, that's wrongful dismissal. And so there are steps that the employee can take. But whatever you do, and I don't know who I'm talking to, please do not sign anything until you have spoken to a lawyer.
Thank you so much. We are almost
That's
done with and I have just the last question maybe.
Sure.
Sorry. There is any relation between bullies and young gangsters?
What was that last between bullies and
Young gangsters? Those that's young people involved in gangs.
all the gangsters?
Group. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would say yes, especially if the gangsters are trying to intimidate another person. Yes, that's a classic example. Yes.
Okay, I believe we came to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa, for the very informative session. Thank you, Dr. Yasser. Thank you, Dr. Hajer. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for your questions and very interesting dialogue. And I hope to see you again in our next session.
And thank you very much for having me. Blessings to all of you, and feel free to contact me. If you could share my contact information with everyone, that would be great. So blessings to all of you, and be good to yourselves and to each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.